Hero FinCorp presents Young Turks, 40 years.
2015 was a watershed year for Indian startups. A record 3,931 startups were incorporated and a total of $7.4 billion in venture funding flowed into the sector, significantly higher than last year and a six-fold increase over 2013. Enterprise tech, including SaaS, retail and fintech, were the top sectors to receive funds. However, the rush to invest in hot sectors like food tech and hyperlocal delivery did create a fair share of irrational exuberance. Half-baked business models and a plethora of copycats got VC backing with scant attention to ground realities, resulting in a shakeout in the second half of the year. The big questions we're asking on the year-end special: is it time to get real, a go-home for Indian startups that have money in the bank but perhaps not a good enough path to profitability? Are VCs swinging too ferociously between the fear of missing out and the fear of not making money?
So I want to begin by asking you, Sanjeev, how much of a self-feeding cycle do you think we are in right now?
I think we've been in one for the last 2-3 years. But I do believe post the August-September China wobble, there is some amount of realism coming in. I think this mad herd mentality this whole assumption that India will be the next China, and therefore if you get pots of money in China, put maybe 5-10% of it in India, and just back the leaders in 8 to 10 categories, and at any valuation, it doesn't matter. I think investing without thinking, investing without doing deep diligence, I think people have stopped to think. 90% of the money has gone into fewer than a dozen companies, right? And those will at least be examined, in a microscope as to what are they doing, what are the margin profiles, what's the real growth like, is there a path to profit, how competitive is the space. I think all these things have become important.
Ritesh, yours is one company that received that sort of big check first in, right? And made a lot of headlines. What did it feel like to be offered that much money? Did you want to raise that much money?
This was not a lot of people know, but this was actually going to become an internal round because there was a lot of demand. But then we met Nikesh and so on. So hopefully our story was different from so many other people. But the way I thought about it then was, for a year I had operated just in Gurgaon. We had figured out that end-to-end the model worked. The business was in a place where it had negligible or no burn. We had very significantly positive take rates, upwards of 20%. So it was working end-to-end. So it was time for us to sort of put the foot on the gas. I think at one point of time where I would say that the broader industry and at some extent even we would have got carried away was competition. In this industry, because the network effects that you will see, there's going to be one player who's going to take significant amount of business. And in this period, if there's someone who's begun, you can't actually be staying back saying, hey, I'm not going to do anything because everyone else is doing it. Well, of course, being rational, being able to do maths behind it, and so on and so forth. So I think, yes, there was a significant amount in a very short period of time that went behind this craziness. But I think it's coming back to normalcy at this point of time.
Sanjeev's company is one of the biggest investors in Zomato, and this actually doesn't come from a space where you were very disdainful actually of some of the big fund houses out there. Why did you choose this particular route of raising funds, not approach some of the bigger VCs that were out there, even when you started?
We raised funds from Infoedge 5.5 years ago now, right? And we started Zomato in 2008, and 2008 was a bad time to raise funds. So we actually bootstrapped for a couple of years. We were working out of my living room. For us, it's never been about trying to plan the next fundraise to see how it will help us in the future or something. For us, it's more about people, right? And are these the kind of people we would like to work with in the future? Because once you raise funds from someone, you're pretty much married to that person for like a lot of years to come. And you don't want to get into bed with someone you don't like.
Every round that we invested in Zomato, it has been against a competitive term sheet. Okay. So I remember the second round. Second round was, there was a verbal offer from a big VC, I said, listen, do you really want to make 2 MISs? Right? And you really want to have to report to 2 VCs? It's so much easier, just take money from us and give us a 20% discount.
We actually didn't give him a 20% discount.
He was lying. He was lying.
Kashyap, I want you to come in there. So there are 2 points. So one point that Deepinder brought up that is interesting is that entrepreneurs marry their VCs, right? And clearly Sanjeev and Deepinder are having a good relationship there. There's trust and there's honesty.
That's a rare marriage, right?
But your relationships in the book and the way you describe between entrepreneurs and VCs are more transient in nature, right? It's almost like speed dating.
A lot of the dramatic stories are about times of exuberance, and I think a lot of those marriages were marriages of convenience. They were not marriages that were meant to last.
If you look at the funds of vintage pre-financial crisis, they are thirsty for exits, and they've probably sort of written off the ones that they have not exited, right? And India has not seen IPOs at all, not even acquisitions by public companies, right? So in this 2 years, what's happened is, even in the natural fund cycle, the big fund vintages are now in their second half. So they're now looking for exits. So a lot of consolidation that we're seeing right now that's brewing, a lot of that energy will go into, I believe, consolidating portfolios so that they can accelerate exit.
Hero FinCorp presents Young Turks, 14 years.